The Cathars were a Christian sect that flourished in southern France, particularly in the Languedoc region, during the 12th and 13th centuries. Their beliefs and practices diverged sharply from mainstream Catholic doctrine, leading the Church to declare them heretics and ultimately launch a brutal crusade to eradicate them. Despite their near-total annihilation, the legacy of the Cathars endures as a symbol of religious persecution, spiritual resistance, and a lost Christian tradition that offered a radically different interpretation of faith. The origins of the Cathars remain somewhat obscure, but they were heavily influenced by earlier dualistic traditions, particularly the Bogomils of Bulgaria, who themselves were connected to the ancient Gnostic traditions of the early Christian era. The Cathars adhered to a form of dualism that divided the universe into two opposing forces, one of good, associated with the spiritual world, and one of evil, linked to the material world. Unlike Orthodox Christianity, which saw God as the creator of all things, the Cathars believed that the physical world was the creation of a malevolent force, often equated with Satan. To them, the true God was entirely spiritual, and salvation involved freeing the soul from the corrupt material realm and returning it to its divine origins. This belief had profound implications for their worldview. The Cathars rejected many of the fundamental teachings and practices of the Catholic Church. They saw the Church as a corrupt institution that had aligned itself with the material world and was, therefore, under the influence of the evil creator. They dismissed the authority of the Pope, the sacraments, and the elaborate hierarchy of the clergy. In their eyes, the Catholic Church was not the true Church of Christ, but an instrument of the false god who ruled over the physical realm. Instead, they followed a simple, ascetic lifestyle and organized their communities around a group of spiritual leaders known as the Perfects. The Perfects were individuals who had undergone the consolamentum, a Cathar rite that functioned as both a baptism and a spiritual ordination. This ritual symbolized the individual's complete renunciation of the material world and commitment to a life of strict asceticism. The Perfects abstained from meat, avoided material possessions, and practiced celibacy. They dedicated themselves to preaching and serving their communities, providing spiritual guidance and acting as living examples of Cathar ideals. However, the majority of Cathars were known as believers, lay followers who supported the movement but had not undergone the consolamentum. They could still engage in regular activities like marriage and trade, but they were expected to eventually receive the consolamentum before death to ensure their soul's salvation. The Cathars' beliefs also influenced their views on gender roles and social structures. Unlike the Catholic Church, which was rigidly patriarchal, the Cathars allowed women to take on leadership roles. Female perfects were common, and they played a crucial role in spreading the faith and administering the consolamentum. This equality extended to other aspects of life, as Cathars rejected the hierarchical nature of feudal society. They denounced war, violence, and the accumulation of wealth, principles that made them popular among the peasantry, but earned them the enmity of the ruling classes. The Catholic Church saw the Cathars as a dire threat, both doctrinally and politically. Not only did they challenge key theological tenets, but their popularity also weakened the Church's influence in Languedoc. The region was known for its relative tolerance, prosperity, and independent-minded nobility, many of whom sympathized with or protected the Cathars. Efforts to combat the heresy through peaceful means, such as debates and missionary work, proved ineffective. By the early 13th century, Pope Innocent III decided that more forceful measures were necessary, leading to one of the most infamous religious conflicts in history, the Albigensian Crusade. Launched in 1209, the Albigensian Crusade was a military campaign led by the Catholic Church and the French crown to eliminate the Cathars. It was also an opportunity for the northern French nobility to extend their control over the wealthy and independent south. The crusade began with the notorious massacre at Béziers, where an army of crusaders, unable to distinguish Cathars from Catholics, slaughtered nearly the entire population of the city, men, women, and children alike. The infamous phrase attributed to a papal legate, "Kill them all, God will know his own," encapsulates the brutality of the campaign. The war raged for 2 decades, with major battles fought at Carcassonne, Minerve, and Montségur. The Cathars and their supporters were relentlessly hunted, their strongholds besieged, and entire communities wiped out. The final major stand of the Cathars occurred at Montségur in 1244. After a prolonged siege, the fortress fell, and over 200 Cathars who refused to renounce their faith were burned alive. This marked the effective end of Cathar resistance, though isolated believers continued to practice in secret for some time afterward. Following the military conquest, the Catholic Church intensified its efforts to root out any remaining heretics through the establishment of the medieval Inquisition. The Inquisition, run by the Dominican order, used interrogations, torture, and public executions to eliminate the last remnants of Catharism. Any suspected of harboring sympathies for the Cathars were forced to confess and renounce their beliefs or face severe punishment. By the late 14th century, the Cathar movement had been almost entirely extinguished. Despite their destruction, the legacy of the Cathars has endured. They have been romanticized as martyrs for religious freedom and have inspired numerous historical studies, novels, and conspiracy theories. Some scholars suggest that remnants of Cathar thought influenced later heretical movements, such as the Waldensians and certain strands of Protestantism. Others see them as precursors to modern ideas of spiritual individualism and resistance against institutional oppression. The ruins of Cathar castles, particularly Montségur, remain pilgrimage sites for those fascinated by their tragic history. The story of the Cathars is a poignant reminder of the power struggles that have shaped religious history. Their beliefs, though largely forgotten, offered a vision of Christianity that rejected materialism, hierarchy, and violence. The ferocity with which they were persecuted underscores the lengths to which dominant institutions will go to maintain control. In the end, the Cathars were more than just heretics erased by the Church. They were a testament to the enduring conflict between spiritual ideals and institutional authority, a conflict that continues to resonate in various forms today.